So hey everyone, how are you guys doing today? My name's Brittany, and I wanted to have a discussion today about character. I'm really open-minded to this. I'm really flowing with just kind of inspiration and curiosity on this topic. So the reason why I'm thinking about character today is because I just finished this little self-help motivational book written by David Hawkins, and it is called Success is for You. So basically, to get into what the book was about and what led me to start thinking about character, and it just kind of meshed so well with all this life experience and all the trying that I've tried to be a good person, and when I tried to be a good person, kind of what happened for me when I stopped trying to be a good person, and I just kind of was a little bit more natural and maybe kind of came to terms with like pleasure, because a lot of my journey in life has been about kind of withholding pleasure from myself, and that's a long story. So this is kind of like a brainstorming discussion. I haven't written down an outline. I figured I'd just kind of flow and ask questions from you on what you might think, because I'm really curious about this, and I think it's a really big topic, and I could get a lot of insight from a lot of people out there who also have a lot of life experience, who might have also struggled with the task of wanting to be a better person and what that might look like and how to accomplish that and what's the fruits of those labors, and why it's actually a really important thing to discuss and think about. So this book, Success is for You, right? So basically, it's a spiritual book, and it talks about coming from a heart space, and it's obviously rooted in Buddhism, and I am a fiery hot Christian, and I used to study Buddhism, so it's really close to me. It's got a lot of beautiful insight, a lot of beautiful things that it talks about, but what it was talking about is coming from the heart, and it says, the mind kind of is analytical, but the heart has such a stronger motivation. When you're hurt, and you're in pain and you're suffering, the heart is the one who offers up that wisdom of forgiveness. That's where forgiveness comes from. It's not intellectual. It's very emotional and heart-focused and heart-based. So in this book and in other studies, it really talks about, instead of like fault finding in people, it's really important to focus on the good. Like, love covers a multitude of sins. We're all faulted. We all suffer of personal problems, and but there's so much good in us, and there's so much love just abundantly waiting to overflow and to flow onto others, and it's sincere, pure love, and it's the good kind of love that when you're touched by it, you feel uplifted, you feel like a brand new person, like the world actually isn't all that bad. It can be some sunshiny place, and the world is actually pretty good. People are actually pretty good because you are embraced and touched by the light of genuine, pure love. So in this book, Success is for You, it's a spiritual book, and it's talking about how if you want success, and success is very subjective, but it's just well-rounded, huge, broad generalization. If you want success, you have to build a certain kind of character, and that character, you can never find it outside yourself. The things that are outside yourself are a result of that character that you built inside yourself. So if you build principles, and a lot of these principles are found in almost every religion that you can think of. Love your brother, treat others how you want to be treated, basically things that sustain life, things that are beautiful, that are not competitive, that are more cooperative, that are nourishing and nurturing, compassion, generosity without the fear of lack, generosity knowing that abundance is going to be fulfilled and it's going to be offered to you. You're going to be okay. You're going to be sustained, and you can be generous even if you don't know where it's going to come from. That is a radical basis of a lot of faith and a lot of being a good human being. You got to give to your brother and sister in need. Sometimes you might not want to. You got to be frugal. You got to think about, budgeting and stuff, but it's actually spiritually well within your soul, and it's actually really good character, and it comes back in tenfold to benefit you, not only spiritually, but it'll come back to you monetarily. I've seen it happen. I've done the radical approach. I got a little insecure because I'd go into debt like time and time again, and then I would be surprised with the most loving experience of being pulled out of that debt without even trying. It just was fulfilled. It was given. So that is not something you can find outside yourself. It's an inside job. So all this stuff outside ourselves is superficial. Like this vessel, all our vessels, very beautiful and fearfully made, but it's also superficial if we're going to make any assumptions based off of appearances. So character is built from experience. It's also built from meditation on the character traits that you enjoy, the thinking thoughtfully about the things that would make you a good person and that would be life-supporting, that would be brotherly, sisterly, and wholesome and good, and all the positive light things that you want to better cultivate that character of true quality and genuine intention, purity, selflessness. So in the world we live in, there is a lot of, kind of like the dark side of life, and we embellish it. We're like, intensity. Intensity is kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. Intensity is awesome. So rebellion, intensity, dye your hair, get all the piercings you want because it's sexy, it's identity, it's individualism, it's expressive, and it depends on what direction you're looking at it. Are you doing it with beautiful intentions, and I really enjoy identity because we need individualism. It's a part of God's creation to have diversity, and I really respect people, and I want them to live their lives how they want to live them, and I want them to be supported in that because it's beautiful. It takes power and courage to do something that doesn't look superficially, stereotypically, as if traditionally the way that you're supposed to do things. So we're going to go back into character because I'm getting off topic. So in character, in that book, it was talking about life-sustaining qualities would be the it factor that brought success. If you take care of life, then life will take care of you. If you're generous with others, then God or whomever you believe in, even if it's just the universe factor or karma or whatever, it'll come back to you. And it's not from that area that you do it. It's just out of the trust and faith. And it's really radical and it's really scary, but it really works. So something that was brought to my attention recently that really got me thinking about character, because it's somewhere I've been so many times. And so I go there and I pull back because I want to live my life and I don't want to be in these trapped stereotypes of boxes of how I'm supposed to be, even if it works a lot, and even if it's got its fruit that is good and it impacts people in a positive way. I just want to make my own choices, and in moments I have a lot of rebellion in me, and I want to rebel, and I want to make my own choices, and I want to do something in moderation that might make me feel like I'm on the edge of life doing something quite possibly just against traditional standards. So basically, what I was given the inspiration of that really hit home with my natural being, somewhere I've been numerous times, mostly because of faith, but also because of experience and being hurt and how bad it hurts to hurt, And when you feel hurt, you don't want anyone to feel hurt. You're like, oh, that hurts so bad. I don't want anyone to ever feel that way. I just want to love people and uplift them and do whatever is possible so that they know that they're loved and that someone's on their side, even if they don't know the Father, even if they're not embraced in the love of either creation or whoever that is that they believe in as that love source. Love is the highest power in my opinion. And Jesus is that love for me, but I am open to every religion and I like people to have their own faith. So, but the character trait that I've been through a million times, and I might even consider it interchangeable with another word, is modesty. So modesty is incredibly powerful. And I would like to say that I kind of interchange the definition of modesty kind of with humbleness. And you know how we're encouraged to be humble when we're Christians? But for some reason, the word humble just kind of throws me off. And I kind of think about self-deprecation. And I'm like, humbling makes me low. And I've got to be underneath people, right? And that's a misinterpretation. So I feel like modesty is a better example of humbleness. And modesty has more freedom, more empowerment, more liberation. And I think modesty is a quality that will definitely build character in a way that will skyrocket you to a successful place that will make you a trustworthy person. So not only modesty is good, but integrity, giving quality work. So being honest. So when you're doing your job, if you realize that it wasn't up to par, do not stop at that point. Back up. Make sure your work is quality and that you're selling a quality product or service, because that is very important in this life. And in my opinion, quality surpasses so much. And I think modesty in a character sense, in a spiritual sense, in a sense of where you're going to get gratification in your life and you're going to feel on top of the world, like you're being the best person you can be, is going to be found in modesty. As just one example, I was impressed on by a friend of mine who is an Orthodox Jewish man, and he impressed on me a kind lecture I was very open to, and it was very refreshing, and it inspired me, and it made me almost like a different person. It reminded me of the places I've been and the places I want to go back to, because I lose myself trying to feel free, because this world is so confusing and it just makes you overstimulated. It makes you think you gotta do things that you don't really have to do, that aren't really actually life sustaining. They're not actually cohesive with life. They're not what life really wants from you. You want to be beautiful? Be modest. Modesty is so beautiful. It's so sexy. It's so gorgeous. And sexy doesn't sound modest, but when you're modest, it just is, And so it sounds crazy, right? But it's true. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. Less is more. So modesty is a good character point. And when you're modest, you're cooperative. When you're modest, people don't feel competed with you. They felt nourished by you, because you're not standing in such a way that you're looking like you're trying to outshine someone, that you're trying to compete with someone, that you're trying to put someone down. You're just like, oh, I'm modest. I'm to myself. I'm, soft. I'm lovely. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just want to be me. I don't want to, get in the way. And modesty doesn't have to be appearances. It's an energy. It's a character. It's inside you. So anything that's outside you is just a product of what was within you first. So sometimes people give off vibes. So you're just like, that person has good vibes and that person doesn't have good vibes. And, it could be momentarily. It's interchanging. Life is always changing and becoming and growing. So it's really important to have solid foundations of where we are. And when we grow and change, we might move away from the things that make us the strongest and the most sincere and make us feel the best about who we are and the part we play in life and our experiences, and that's normal. We move away and we come back, so we might be on top of the earth in our hearts, how we feel. We feel like we're winning in life. And So we are on top of the world because we love so genuinely. We have such pure hearts. We don't have bad intentions. We just want to get along. We want other people to feel secure. Suffering really is sobering. If you've suffered, then you've seen hell. You're like, hey, I've been to hell. It's okay, man. Hell isn't that bad. I mean, it's bad when you're there, but it's not somewhere you have to live. You can leave hell, and hell is a metaphor. So you can leave hell. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to feel like the world is just hell because somebody hurt you. Somebody made fun of you. Somebody didn't support you. See, they weren't life nurturing. They were trying to hurt life. Why would someone try to hurt life? I don't know. But you know what? Hurt people, help people, loved people, love people. You know, and like God, when he was crucified on the cross, the first thing he said was, oh, please, Father, forgive them for they not know what they do. You know, and that is so empowering, and that is our example. That's who we should follow. That's what we should do. And whether it be in that form or not, almost every religion kind of gives you that. You know, you don't repay evil for evil. You repay evil for good, you know, and that's the thing that you do. It's just like, and something that I struggle with, which is really made easier by the thought of modesty, is kind of like the versions of abstinence and adultery. You know, and adultery is kind of like a broad generalization, just like fornication or something. You know, it's like, I've always wanted to be abstinent. I've always suppressed myself from pleasure. I've done a lot of self-punishment. I don't know why I've done these things. I just did them because I thought it was better than indulging in the abundance of there's so much and you can do anything you want. You're a free person. You're an adult. You're human. You can do anything. You know, why not? You know, just do it. You know, you don't have a reason not to. You know, but I just didn't want to because I was afraid to, because I didn't want to be addicted to anything. I didn't want to become numb. I didn't want to indulge. I don't think that's the best thing for you sometimes, but I'm out of that place. I'm going kind of back and forth into different places. I've released my obsession with abstinence, and I had experienced some human elements of just experiencing those kinds of experiences. And, you know, I do not think that it's good to find that as a habit. I actually think it's more beneficial for character and success and feelings of quality to abstain and to be moderate in everything. Like modesty, moderate kind of rolls together maybe, you know. So just like really interesting topic, building character. What kind of character do you want? This book says the key to success is a character that helps sustain life, a generous character, a character that it basically encourages and supports and talks good about each other, and it wants other people to be successful. And in other people's success, you are successful. Like, you're my brother, you're my sister, your success is my success. Your happiness is my happiness. If you're down, I'm not going to let you be down alone, but I'm also not going to tell you that it's okay to, like, choose things that are weak. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, you know, think that there's an excuse for everything. Because if there's an excuse for everything, honestly, that's a weakness. Like, even though we all have weakness, really there's a solution for everything. And things don't have to be a struggle. You can just relax. If you can learn to be grateful, then in that gratefulness, then you'll have enough. It'll be easier going. You can like make goals. Making goals makes life a lot better. You're just like, well, I guess I can wait till this time in my life because I have no other real choice, you know, unless I want to fight the truth of life. Like, am I going to fight what is? Am I going to complain every day and be miserable? Or am I going to be grateful and see the silver lining and kind of go with the flow until I'm able to have more power in the things I'm able to do? Because there's every season in life. There are seasons of abundance, there's seasons of lack, and during every season, you have to have a grateful heart. You have to be positive and uplifting to yourself and as well to others. And if you fall off that boat, which we all do, sometimes we reach a tolerance level, and we're just like, this tolerance is done. I am no longer that fluffy person. I am no longer nice and kind. Get out of my way. And then that happens, you know, and then the people around you get to do their part and show you the good in human nature so you don't feel like it's all over, because everyone has that goodness and those good things about human nature that we should encourage and enrich and grow and embellish, not only in other people, but in ourselves. We should maybe not embellish, but we should grow those things, and we should nurture those things and make those things as loud as possible in ourselves, because those great qualities bring life, and those great qualities make people believe in life, and those things make people who are desperate, that feel suicidal, that think that they can't stand another day in such a prison as this physical world exists. Well, they find new hope in art that moves emotions. They find new hope in the gentlest and purest of love actions. The simplest of actions can uplift somebody. And eventually, at some point, they'll get back on their feet and they'll be like, I'm good. And I'm going to start uplifting others. And I don't feel miserable anymore because other people around me did their human nature job, which is really instinctive and it's really not that hard. And they gave me hope. And hope is good. And hope can get you through some really hard times. But basically, religion of every sort has a lot of seeds of good character, and it really brings success into people's lives. And, you know, and being a healer, having good intentions, I'm just an average person, but anyone can be a healer. I mean, I don't know. I'm intuitively a healer, in my opinion. I really like lifting people up. I used to get made fun of, and I have no hard feelings towards it, but I used to get made fun of because I was too nice, and they were like, you're too nice to me, so I'm going to be mean to you, and I kind of find that endearing, maybe. It's just like, I don't know, you can try to push me away, but I'm going to be nice to you anyways. You can be mean to me, but I'm going to be nice to you. And I lose my tolerance, you know, but then I find my tolerance, and then I feel like I'm doing something good when someone hurts me and I'm nice to them. I feel like I'm winning over people that want to be my enemy when they're mean to me and I'm nice to them, and then they start being nice to me, and sometimes it's like you want to hesitate. You're like, I don't know, but you're still going to be nice to them, and it just makes you feel good to be nice to people. I don't have to be a hard person. I don't have to be tough. I don't have to like repay evil for evil. I don't have to be on guard that someone's going to hurt me. I can live in this beautiful, lush life, and I can live in this positive, supportive of life mindset and be generous to people, even when I'm thinking it might not be good for my pocketbook. And lift people up, give them genuine compliments, be modest, because I'm not trying to compete with anybody, but also because if I'm not modest, it might make someone feel uncomfortable and they might feel like a harsh presence from me. And that's why I feel like modesty is a really powerful character experience. And I want other people to be aware that they can create any character they want to create, and life-sustaining character is more fulfilling. Religious character, like, spiritual characters, religious characters, basically the basis is love, and love is really beautiful, and it's, and there's definitions of love all over the place, but love is magical, miraculous and beautiful. And I prefer love that's pure because, because there's different kinds of love, and love that's pure surpasses all the rest of the love because it has no agenda, and it's not trying to get anything, and it's not trying to do something weird. It's just love, and it's really good. And and I want to encourage each other to be brothers and sisters and to see the good in each other, to look past each other's faults and try to consider where that might come from. Like, sometimes people are coming from a bad place, and, the love that you give them can make all the difference in the world. It can help heal those wounds. It can help change them. It's magnetic. It's like ripples. You're nice to someone, they're going to be nice to someone else. You uplift someone, they're going to uplift someone else. And that is gorgeous. That gives it gives more quality of life. And when you're giving more quality of life, then you're building integrity. When you're giving more quality of life. You're sustaining life. So you're doing these things even if there's not a promise of any reward. You're not getting a pat on the back. It's a spiritual reward. It's built within. It's not outside you. It's inside you. And when you do these nice things and you improve the quality of life for others, you're generous to others without a reason, because it's radical and it's important that you do such a thing because you're in this world together and you have these things to do together. Well, it's got a spiritual reward. It fills you. It makes you feel euphoric. It makes you feel happy, healthy, successful, on top of the world. It doesn't have to be outside you. And in that same breath, I know I've been told, maybe not from a reliable source, I don't know, it's up to you, I'm just going to suggest this. I've been told that subconsciously, a lot of people want to be attractive. So you think modesty, that's not attractive. But all those things that fill you, that make you feel successful and healthy, that's just good character. That's being a good person. Being a good person is sexy. If you want to be attractive, but you're afraid to be out there, you're afraid to kind of be a whoa, just wow, I don't know what you'd say. So, but when you're a good person, it's sexy. People are attracted to you because they feel like they can trust you. They feel like you're going to do something good for me. You're not going to have any ulterior motives, and you're not going to hold me accountable for the mean things I do, because you're not keeping score, because love doesn't keep score. It just forgives, and maybe it might hold these boundaries to protect itself, but those are all in good due, and then there's that mercy and grace, so you just use your intuition of when you should kind of lessen those boundaries and intervene and come back and, kind of just feel it out like a dance. It's free. It's magical. There's no formula. It just is, and this life is kind of all yours, baby. It's all yours. It's rhythmic. You get to make your own choices in this life. And what life do you want to have? Do you want to have a life of abundance, of grace, of goodness, of trust, of worthiness, of trusting others, even if you didn't feel like you had a reason to, or if, for instance, in my experience, having your trust broken on several occasions might make you fear to trust people, but then you trust them. And in the act of trusting them, you build this quality of trust in yourself because you come from an innocent and pure place. And when you do those things, you're building those things in yourself. And when you kind of project things on other people, or you criticize them or do those things, you're building that stuff inside yourself. It's unhealthy. It feels spiritually dirty, and you don't want that. So I'm really interested. What else can we say about this topic? Who else has some other ideas of what's good character, on how to cultivate good character? Experiences that made you feel like a lustrous, beautiful, magnetic, gorgeous, on top of the world person coming from a good place, a place of innocence, a place of, whether we even know what innocence is at this point anymore, but it's still there. You find innocence all the time. You're actually a very innocent being. You just feel like you're not, or maybe feel like it's delusional to say anything is innocent anymore. But innocence is everywhere. Purity is everywhere. You just have to be willing to release the negativity, release what definitions you may or may not have, what judgments you may or may not have. Judgment's kind of lame anyways. I mean, there's good judgment because it's somewhat protective, and that might be called discernment or something. But, there's healthy boundaries. There's healthy judgment. There's healthy things, but it'll feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, then it's not right. So use your judgment in a discerning kind of way and say, how much of a good person can I be? Which persons can I be this trustworthy person with? And, and do I have it in my heart? Is it coming from a good place when I do things? When I'm doing things, where is it coming from? And if you know where it's coming from, then you'll know the effect of it. And I'm just going to use one last line of scripture that really resonates with me when I mention about coming from a heart place, when you're a love place, when you're doing things, because in scripture it talks about if you do anything with love, you're not doing anything at all. You can do anything all day long, as many things as you want, but if it hasn't the heart behind it, the love behind it, then it's empty, and it's actually less meaningful or even considered worthless to do these gorgeous, beautiful things without love behind it, because the love is what makes it gorgeous. So that might be extreme to say it's worthless, but it's less meaningful. So when you do something, put the love into it, though. Like, I know that this is going to a good cause. I know that when I'm doing this, I'm doing it because I want to help. I want this person to not suffer. I want to do my part. I'm only alive for so long. In what way can I be of service? Please just let me know and go for it. Like, purpose is there. Purpose is love. Purpose is service. Sometimes just letting people know they're not alone. They're a part of the community. A community is a wholesome thought. And when you think of a community, you think of people making food and bringing it to their neighbor. You think of just different stuff where you're bringing people together so that they feel safe, they feel involved, they feel loved. A community is another kind of like extension of family. So in my idea, it's kind of that other idea that everyone else has too. One love, one life. We are all family. Like, we have our close family, and then we have our extended family, and nature is a part of that family. And I want us to love nature and nurture nature and be one with nature, while also entertaining other philosophies. And because being one with nature and nurturing nature is life-sustaining. It does benefit me. I like hugging trees. What can I say? Hugging trees is beautiful. I speak to those trees. Those trees speak to me. But, in the Bible, it says we have dominion over nature, but it also talks about how God really wants us to sustain nature and be beneficial with nature and to nature, because it's beneficial to us. And that's kind of how we work in life, is we're not a solitary person. We're separate, interconnected beings, and we're all sacred, and life is sacred. It's quite fascinating. But it's not possible to be 100% autonomous in this lifetime, because we have to rely on people. When I'm weak, another person can be strong. When I'm strong, I'm going to try to fill in the spaces for anyone who's suffering in weakness, having illness, having off times, off seasons. It's how we fill in the gaps. We fill in the gaps for each other, and we're stronger together than we are separate as individuals. And individualism is cool, but we have to recognize our togetherness. And in my opinion, somewhere I've always come strongly from, even though I've been, and I find individualism endearing, expression art, because it's inspiring to see someone so empowered to be so fully themselves. But in my opinion, community and the betterment of the whole and making sure everyone is well and taken care of takes one step and one seat before individualism. So individualism is great. It has its own power, its own magnetism. It fits into the equation, but we cannot put other people behind us. We cannot put ourselves above other people. We're all equal. One of the strongest foundation universal truths, besides one love, one life, you get it? It's kind of similar in that same bracket. It's like one of the strongest universal truths that brings a lot of power and it brings a lot of hope and inspiration and joy is all men are created equal, and we're all created divinely by the Creator. So all men are created equal. And in my little sweet mind, I kind of go, oh, that's my spirit with the nature too. Me and that nature is created equal. We're brothers and sisters too. So I kind of got off topic a lot, and I had a lot of fun talking about this, like kind of ranting, going in different places. You see different sides of myself. You can see that I'm human. I'm not strictly a pure fairy, though that would be cool. I'm not an angel. I'm human. There's good and bad in life, but it's good to focus on the good and not the bad. But the thing is I'm human. I've got rebellion in me. I fall off the path. And even while I fall off the path, I'm being gently reminded of what the path is, because when you're not on the path, it hurts. When you're not on the path, you don't feel fulfilled. You even feel mundane. You feel just unhealthy, and maybe not even unhealthy, but you don't feel excitement. You don't feel fulfillment the same. You feel selfish, and selfishness doesn't sustain life. And and it doesn't build the right character. It builds kind of like sadness, and it's going to make you sad because in this lifetime, not one thing created is made to be selfish. We're meant to interact and coexist and help each other. We're made to love each other and help each other and accentuate each other. Like, I'm going to compliment you. In my experience, being me, you know, I am just like you. You know, we're all equals, but my existence should complement and enhance the experience of your existence as well as vice versa. So I really find fondness in people who have very cuddly, affectionate personality. Sometimes I'm a little bit cold. I'm even in my somewhat of a flowery child, hippie-ish kind of desiring place to be, that Buddhism that I have a background of. I really adore it because it's got so much beauty in it. But I'm not as affectionate as a lot of other people that I've met, or even, I just mean some, I suppose. But affectionate, warm, cuddly people, even if it's just really platonic, but they give off that vibe, it's just so enhancing. It makes you feel like you can trust them, and it makes you feel really close to them, even if they're messing up, even if they have faults just like me, and they might or might not kind of hurt your feelings or make you feel like they're not necessarily 100% honest about their purity of intention. They're just like, I don't really care. You're so affectionate. I love it. I just can't help myself. You know, I want to be that affectionate. I am not that affectionate. I'm a little bit cold in a scientific way, and I'm not even scientific. I'm religious as religious gets. But, you know, I have a lot of desire to be scientific because I love art, and I'm kind of delusional into fantasies really easily. It's comfortable to be in a fantasy world. It's comfortable to be delusional. You know, it's not too comfortable, but it's easy to get there. You know, so because of that, I spend a lot of time focusing on science because art and fantasies and delusions are so easy for me that I choose to kind of save them for special occasions, you know? Like, I'm going to do some art in a special time, just like in balance, but I'm going to spend a lot of my time with science because it makes me happy, and I learn about helping life, and I learn about my soul in a different perspective, and it's a little bit more objective, or it's not, it's kind of just whatever. I don't really care anymore, but I prefer science, and I have my hesitations to be too affectionate with people because I want to be consistent and I want to be reliable. And if I'm not consistent and reliable, I don't want to mislead a person by being affectionate to them. And every once in a while, you might want to have this like really intense experience with a perfect stranger, and that's kind of fun. And by that, I mean like a friendship experience of intensity. And so you're like, okay, so I met you. We're in this experience together where we're in this different walk of life, and we're going to have this new experience where we're comrades, and we're going to be friends, you know, and experience this experience together. But also, you know, it's only going to last for a short period of time, and I really respect that because it's kind of like variety. You get to experience new individuals. You get to have fairly a large amount of acquaintances if you so desire, and you can share experiences with them and absolutely love them and have that affection with them and intensity with them. But you know that they're going to move on to their next chapter, which is going to be somewhere else and not in your life. And so you have these long-term friends that you just know that you love them no matter where they are in the world, and you're just going to keep loving them no matter what because they have this place in your heart. And then you meet these acquaintances and you just share these intense experiences, and they're short-lived, but they have their own footprints and their own memories, and you learn from them. You learn from every person. And sometimes you learn about yourself too, and you might learn that if somebody brings out what you might presume to be the worst in you, that you might have some kind of weakness you need to work on, including tolerance and forgiveness, and trying to look past these things and trying to see probably the betterness. Like, it's really a challenge sometimes to forgive, and I'm great at forgiving, but sometimes it's a challenge. So it's like, why is this a challenge? And How can I find the serenity of the truth of forgiveness, which is the best place to be? It's the healthiest place to be. And does it mean I'm just not coming from the heart enough? Or was there an expectation? Like, I don't want to expect anything, you know? And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was an expectation. So, so just throwing these things out there, kind of like being real, trying to be relatable by effortlessly just being relatable, I suppose. Tell me, how do you feel about life? How do you feel about character building? Have you gone through the different phases of both modesty and then swinging to the other realm of immodesty, and maybe kind of going back and forth like a dance? Like, are we going to be modest or are we going to be immodest? Why do we have a struggle with it? What's the motivation? Is it unnatural to be modest? I don't understand why it's so hard sometimes to just stay in the positive. Like, why do people wonder? Why do people fall off the path? And these are just kind of metaphors. So why is it so hard to maintain being a good person one day, just magically out of nowhere, and then every other day it was like so easy? Like, I don't understand. But I guess you're not supposed to understand everything. So it's really interesting. I really love people. My favorite people are the people who love people, who want to help people, who embrace people. I also love people with anger problems, who are jaded and hurt, because they are the people in need of a healer, and sometimes healing is just a hug. So I'd like to hear from other people. Please either send me an email, post a video, you know, in response to this, and maybe just send it to me, or I don't know how, because I don't receive comments on YouTube. So just, I don't know. This is just a curious thing, and it was a lot of fun. So I hope everyone is happy, healthy, serene, blessed, blessing above all things, you know, and just realizing how much abundance is actually in their life, how much grace and gratitude is available to them, how the keys to success will not be found outside yourself, but will actually be found within, after cultivating a certain kind of character that's genuine and has pure intentions and wants to be life-sustaining. It's sometimes a struggle at first, but you can cultivate it, and you have your whole life to cultivate it. And each experience, whether good or bad, sometimes good things are disguised as bad, but every experience adds to your knowledge of discovering why it's important to be a good person and what does a good person look like. I find my answers in scripture and other realms of different religions, but other people might find their answers for a different reason. And just not being self-focused. Like, it's okay to kind of dwell in the self every once in a while and throw in your part, because you're a part of the equation. You're a part of life just like anyone else, right? And this life is beautiful, and we should shine our light and be a part of that life. But I feel like being self-focused makes people feel less received and makes people feel kind of out in the cold. So if you're having a conversation, or you're trying to like be that good person and cultivate those characters that bring more abundance into your life, you should be like less self-focused. Get like enough alone time so that you're savvy and cool with yourself. But like when you're around other people, be more interested in what they have to say. Be more interested in asking questions that make you, you know, feel and look and experience genuine interest in these people. And that brings a lot of better friendship qualities and better connection, just like relating, getting into a natural flowing conversation. But being too self-focused, like being too self-involved, or too, what do you think about yourself so much kind of thought, you know, like those are good people too. I find them quite fascinating and interesting, but I feel less received. I feel less gifted. I feel less of that love energy coming from them. And I guess that's just my opinion, because we're all so different. But I feel like even myself, when I get more self-involved, I feel that less love feeling. I feel less successful. I feel less euphoric. And so it's a priority for me to put more of my focus on other people, but curiously, what makes other people happy, and like what makes them tick, and maybe just just being less self-interested, and in whatever way that looks. And there's time for yourself. It just doesn't have to be all about yourself all the time. And I guess maybe that might be fault finding here. I might be going on a little negative tangent, but I've just noticed that I don't really feel love in the same way when somebody is really self-interested. But I find it unique that they're so solidified in their identity, and that's really empowering. But I don't know if I don't think that's right for me, and I feel like it might be kind of a repellent to do that. So I don't know. So in my opinion, I think generosity is really important. Sincerity, kind of like that modesty makes you feel so much easier to love with yourself and other people. And I found that really interesting. And that's just a personal experience. And sometimes the more, when I fell off the path and I fell more into like rebellion, the more I wanted to be sexy, or I wanted to be kind of like admired for my appearance, made me feel less beautiful. It made me feel less competent. It made me feel less genuine. It made me feel less loving. And I don't want to ever feel that way. So I really want other people, when I start falling off the path and start landing into dark places, to remind me of that light inside myself and how we're connected together and how we're supposed to be loving each other and never competing and being genuine people. And I don't think competing is life-sustaining, and I don't think it's genuine. So it's really important to recognize we're all faulted, we're all human, we all fall short, and we can kind of enhance each other and pick each other back up, but we can enhance each other and we can make each other more beautiful just by loving each other. And that's part of God's grace, to have the experience of love and unity and fairness. We're all created equal. We should all have equal rights. We should all have consideration to each other's strengths and weaknesses. So I really enjoy seeing men who want to protect a woman and treat her like a flower, because in biology we're supposed to be more nurturing, more sensitive, more emotional, more monogamous. I've been told, at least, that that's the more biological consistencies of a female. And I don't know as much about a male, but I'm sure that they're supposed to be protective. They're supposed to have that. In biology, they have more aggression in them because they're supposed to be hunters, or I don't know, some kind of protector or something. I don't know, but we're all equally powerful. We can protect our own selves, especially in this 21st century. But I just feel like there should be that consideration of a woman being a more emotional being and more feminine, and women equally should be more honoring of the traits of a man that are different. Like, we should honor our differences. It's part of coming to good terms with each other and coexisting. I don't understand the differences that are in a man 100%, really. I really don't. So I find it quite interesting. I would love to know more about it. But we should honor those differences and not feel threatened by them. But I do think modesty is a two-way street, and men should be modest too. And I feel like if we were respecting each other as if we were actually brothers and sisters, then there would be less kind of like that pressure of sexuality. I think sexuality, when it's like, because I'm more intellectual and less affectionate, and maybe is what I perceive, even though it kind of is a degree. You'd have to see the gray area of where this degree is. But in my opinion, sexuality taints a lot. Like, I can run around feeling sexual, but it's not fulfilling. And other people can run around feeling sexual, and it's not fulfilling. And we can look at each other in sexual ways, but it's not fulfilling, and it doesn't cultivate good character, and it doesn't cultivate those pretty things in your brain, and it kind of like takes away from you. It kind of makes the world a less pretty place. It kind of, that primitiveness, I don't find that quite beautiful. I mean, it has its beauty. and it has its art, and it's got its place. But I feel like if we kind of withhold those sides of ourselves and just kind of use them differently or channel them differently, or if we kind of stick in that realm of more modesty and tradition from not the fullness of it, because it's quite a heavy burden to be that perfect traditional person who's perfectly modest, who's perfect in every way. That's just impossible. Perfection is impossible. So you got to have that grace and that forgiveness. But if we could hold back some of that sexuality, and we could see each other as like brothers and sisters, maybe be a little bit more intellectual and emotional and affectionate from a pure standpoint. And like, how do you do this? I'm sure it's out there. I've done it a lot, but it's just you go through phases, and how are you supposed to do this all the time? And how do you balance this? And how do you cultivate this? And where is the level where you feel, I think you're always at that level of becoming, so you're never going to be complete. You're just going to be this beautiful masterpiece like we all are, this gorgeous mosaic together, and each little piece is valuable, and it's all part of the gorgeous, beautiful, big picture that we experience. That's a miracle. But and I don't want to judge anybody, but in my opinion, to be cultivating a life-sustaining character, it's best to have your sexuality contained to a point that you're not sharing it with everyone. And that if you're sharing it with them, that it's something they need, and use your discernment. Does that person need my sexuality? Does this serve me in this experience? I mean, sometimes it's not the actual act of being sexual. It's just the essence of it, the provocative natures, the flaunting, all those things. They have their place, but is it sustaining life? Is it building the character that you desire? Is there a time and place for it? Maybe occasions, so that it feels more fulfilling on an occasional level, versus sometimes the more you do something, the more it wires your brain in that way, the harder it is to kind of go back a little bit, go back inside, go back to those places of innocence where you want to be, or those other places, just whatever is good for you. Because I feel like, in my experience personally, that sexuality, though I'm comfortable with it more so than ever in my life, and that there's a lot of taboo nature around it. It's really complicated. It's really sacred. It's a really beautiful, sacred thing. And I feel really hurt that we live in a world that's made it less sacred. And I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to accept that that's kind of a variation of the experience we have. But I feel like it's in my best interest to kind of remind myself how being provocative doesn't serve me. Being sexually appealing is less sexually appealing, and actually being more modest is more sexually appealing. In my opinion, being closer to nature is quite enticing. I don't know why, just nature is good. So I just feel like we might need to get back in touch with our roots and our ancestors, and that's just kind of a silly thing that I read about that I really enjoy. And I really like more soulful stuff, like more deep stuff, more meaningful stuff. And if I am not being true to that, then I'm going to get depressed. So what matters to you that you've known yourself to have more meaning behind and felt more strong feelings towards? Maybe we should all think about these things. And if we've watered ourselves down, or if we've lost ourselves in other people's paths where they said, oh, you should go this way, so you start going that way, and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel like me. This doesn't feel like what I need. This doesn't make me feel sincere or happy or right with my soul. And we don't want to pretend we're right with our souls. We want to do everything in our power, and we can pretend. We could be like, I'm right with my soul because this just is, and that's cool. But if you do the things that make you feel right with yourself, you're just gonna feel good, and you can just forgive yourself and keep moving and keep doing what you need to do. It's not scrutiny. It's not lines. There's not like a line. There's not like a formula. It just is. Does this make you feel good? Does this feel like you? Is this something you used to like, and when you've known yourself more? And sometimes we lose ourselves and we have to re-find ourselves. And sometimes we admire things in others, and we might ask ourselves, why do we admire that? What about that? Is it because of my childhood? Is it because of my parents, and I'm seeking my parents and other people, or unfinished business from my childhood and other people? Because that's psychology, and in psychology, that's like some kind of thing. I've heard it called imago therapy, but I'm sure there might be other definitions for it as well. And there's just so much involved in living a life, you know, but no matter how hard it gets, it's really important that we try to be good people, that if we have something in our system, like we have missed experiences and we haven't even known what these experiences are, I suppose get them out of your system. Just try them, not trying to encourage you down the wrong path or anything. But if you have this in your system, you think about it, you want to try it, moderation in all things, don't get addicted to anything if you can so help yourself, and get these experiences out, because you want to live your life and have experiences. But if you do it and it hurts you, I don't know how you find your strength. I don't know how you find your curve. And here we have a learning curve, but I don't know how you find your other curve in order to find yourself back on that path of strength, to do what's right for you, because we all find weakness in things such as temptation, things that aren't good for us. So we find weakness and we do things that aren't good for us, and we don't like them. It doesn't fulfill us, but for some odd reason, we just cannot get away from it. We cannot make ourselves do what's right. We cannot find the strength to do the best thing for ourselves. And so that's where we have to have, in my opinion, good support groups. And we have to have one or two genuine friends that really care about your success and the well-being of your soul while you're doing what is right for you. And of course, they can't tell you what to do, because no one would listen to someone telling them what to do. But their support, that they'll love you no matter what you do, kind of releases that that obligation to be a perfect person. You're like, you're going to love me no matter what I do. And I know I feel sick when I'm sinning in whatever way. You know it's a sin because it makes you feel sick to do it, even if it's easy and has some fruitless, empty reward. And so you're supposed to find your strength. And whether that be God doing his part, making your path straight, taking those people out of your lives, however they do it, because sometimes having bad relationships is just that. A lot of times, just that's the sin that we have, is a bad relationship. But I'm sure that there's other levels of sin that could impose on our well-being, whether we mean to or not, just because we're weak. And I'm weak, and we're all weak, but we can also be strong. We don't have to give that weakness our strength. We don't have to claim that weakness. We can be born new every moment, and we can say, I'm strong, that weakness no longer has me, and it's fine. So I'm no longer a slave to something that doesn't serve my greater good and doesn't empower me to be healthy and to be comfortable with myself and even proud of myself in a modest way, I suppose. Just being happy for yourself, because we all deserve happiness, we all deserve abundance, we all deserve good things, and we can be happy for ourselves when we get these things. And we could be happy for others when they get those things too, and we want them for those people. We can pray for those other people to have all the things that their hearts desire, and that we ourselves get everything our hearts desire, whether we knew it was what we desired or not. And that we just live a full, happy life where we're pleasantly surprised instead of disappointed, which comes from probably an expectation or fantasies or something, and fantasies are good. But pleasantly surprised. I would like that. Let's do that. Let's be pleasantly surprised every day, and pleasantly surprise each other with our goodwill for each other, and our freedom, and empowering each other with our choices, and making the most of every opportunity, as it's written in Scripture, because we can, and that would be optimal as our choice. So that's all I got. That's all the rant for today. And I'd like to hear from you. Tell me if you enjoyed this conversation, and if you want to add to it, or if you felt like it was empowering or you got anything from it, because I really want to empower people. I want to empower myself, and this is empowering to me, so that's why I share it. So just do with it what you will. Have a good day. Be blessed. Abundance, grace, and some laughter.